Hello and welcome to Talk Good Game. It's the match preview of Sheffield United against West Ham United on Sunday at Bramall Lane. Gonzo, as always, can I get your thoughts on our opponents, please?
Well, obviously struggling this season following what you'd have to say is amongst the most successful transitions from the Championship to the Premier League last season. There were times I thought last season they looked unbeatable, Geo. I've got to say, he was so good last year, Chris Wilder, and I like the way he carries himself, by the way. He's grumpy, but I like a bit of that. You know, he's grumpy, but he backs his club and he sticks up for himself and he sticks up for his players, not afraid to call his players out. But there were times last season, particularly when the Arsenal manager's job was up for grabs. I wasn't particularly one of them, but there were people who were saying, well, you need to give this guy a go. That's the sort of level he took Sheffield United up to, which I thought was actually quite remarkable last season. This season, there's a couple of mitigating factors, because we've seen that before, by the way. We've seen clubs come up and do a Sheffield United, if you want to give it its most recent term. They also then go and do what's happened this season as well. We got that first season syndrome, and I think we're seeing a bit of that now. But I also think we're about to find out about Sheffield United. How good are they in terms of, we know he can cajole a bunch of players and bring them up through the leagues and get 100% out of the players who are at the lower levels, who seem to be grateful to be playing at a higher level. But can he spend money? So he spent big money last season on the striker from Swansea, and he's spent a bit of money on Burge, and he's spent a bit of money on Brewster now. And can he buy well, I think, is the question, Geo. But he's going to have to buy well, because it seems like they've got Saudi owners. I think it looks like they've got the only people in Saudi Arabia without any money. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there, really, mate.
And to go along with what you've said, you know, he's taking players up who maybe were, I don't want to use the word grateful being in the Premier League, but players that might have thought, oh, we've done quite well to get here, we're playing as a team, and individually they perhaps not quite good enough for the Premier League or for a move to a Premier League club, but together as a team, they are good as a team. I think, I guess the sort of problem with your rule of thumb, which I agree with to an extent with some of the players, is that they now see themselves as a Premier League player. They came up as a Championship player, now they've stayed up, they've done it, and they can say, well, hang on a minute, I was part of that Sheff United team that came up and stayed up comfortably, therefore I am now not quite an established Premier League player. But, you know, you see Lundstram refusing a contract at Sheffield United, looking to join another Premier League club, because he probably now looks at himself as a Premier League player, and I think I've proven I'm good enough for this level. Saying that, I don't think they're bottom of the league with 1 point so far. I don't think that tells the true story of the season thus far. I saw them against Chelsea. They were awful. They were really bad against Chelsea before the break. But I remember against the week before that against Liverpool at Anfield, they were very unlucky. They created enough chances to arguably win the game, never mind lose it at the latter stages. I think they've done okay. In some games they've played quite well, but I think they've got about one player in particular who's causing them problems. I'll get on to a minute end, and I'm aware that's going to come back and bite me on the arse on Sunday, but I'm ready for it. I just think they're a bit like what I thought with Fulham, actually. I thought Fulham, Parker just needed to get a settled side. I think Sheffield United need that. Last season, you knew what players were going to play. You knew Stevens and Baldock were going to be the wing backs and so on and so forth. This season, they've had so much injuries. They've been really unlucky with injuries, form, whatever. The strikers are constantly changing. The midfield three is constantly changing. The back three is constantly changing. Edna Stevens, if he was fit for this weekend, doesn't know if he's going to be playing left wing back or left centre back, because he's having to move him about. They're missing Jack O'Connell to a long injury. Big player for them last year. I thought he was on the verge of the England squad at one point, to be honest. He was that good. And they've also lost Dean Henderson, he's probably got a market value of 40 million. How do you replace a goalkeeper worth 40 million? And I think going and getting Ramsdale wasn't necessarily the right option. I know a lot of people really like him. I think he's average for a Premier League keeper. But they've gone and lost one of the best goalies in the Premier League last season. To replace him, they would have had to go spend big money on that position. And they've gone and got in what they think is an adequate replacement. I think they find out the hard way that actually Dean Henderson was extremely difficult to replace. Are you surprised they're struggling, though?
A little bit, yeah, because I do think they were so good. I think it's really important as well, though, that when we talk about Sheffield United, we discuss what we've discussed with ourselves and a few other clubs, which is how you handled the lockdown. And we saw ourselves as doing very well out of it. We were beneficiaries of it. We enabled us to David Moyes didn't have a chance to breathe after he got the job. It gave David Moyes a chance to breathe, get his pattern of play, get his team, get his staff sorted out, and he came back, and we came back strong. And after lockdown, albeit a crappy performance against Wolves, we were excellent. And I felt just before that, without lockdown, they were heading for European football. And so I think they can consider themselves unlucky. Am I surprised? Yes, but they should really consider themselves to be fortunate, because looking at the league as it is this season, had they have qualified for Europe, they'd be even more screwed than they are now, because that would have absolutely decimated them. I think I would agree with what you say as well. They've had a tough, not quite as bad as us, but they've had a tough fixture list, a tough running, and actually they've lost against some really good teams, and some of them are by quite slender margins. But the margins are always going to be small when you play like them, and I don't mean that as any disrespect. I really don't mean that, because I think they play a little bit like us, and what I mean by that is they don't make many passes in a game. They make 300 to 400 passes, which is about what we do. They don't ever really seem to have the most possession. They play with a similar type. Well, the defensive, they play 3-5 at the back, whatever you want to call it. And when you play like that, I think sometimes you can have some really, really tight games, which means sometimes it doesn't go for you. And I think they lost 1-0 to Leeds, quite possibly, when Leeds were swashbuckling, but that's a big game up there, obviously, big Yorkshire derby. So, am I surprised? Yes, a little bit, bearing in mind last season, but I guess I shouldn't, because we have seen this sort of thing before.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. I thought they'd be okay. I thought they're one of the best organised sides in the league, to be honest with you. And I still think that this season, although they're bottom of the table, I still think they are one of the better organised sides. I think the difficulty for them is this running centre-back thing that they've got going on, which is, to be honest with you, unique to Sheffield United. Some teams have one centre-back and a back three that comes out with the ball, but they've got two that come running out, and that's tricky. But once you've mastered it like they have, it's a very, very handy thing to have. But other teams are now used to it. Last season, you'd only, out of 38 fixtures, you'd only come, and only two of your fixtures would you come up against a team with two running centre backs, so you'd almost like not be prepared for it. It was a new tactic to come up against. Now teams are aware of it. Teams know the Sheffield United two centre backs are going to come down that side of the pitch and stuff, but they're the ones that keep changing. Basham's been quite consistent, but that left centre back position has been changing quite a lot. And whenever O'Connor's dropped out, if Stevens is there, that's okay. The other players are Robinson, and they've got Lowe up from Derby playing on that left side. And it's now a case of he's almost got more championship players. He'd done it the first season, he'd done it with the championship players, but Brewster was championship last season. He's now got Lowe in from Derby, Ampadu from Chelsea. Well, no, he was on loan at Leipzig, but he didn't play that much. He's now almost got more players with not much experience in the Premier League that he's got to give them. He's almost doing it again with the whole championship stepping up thing. Do you think they'll stay up? I know it's early in the season. Can you really do it? But we only play them twice a season, so that's the only time we can ask the question. Do you think Sheffield United will stay up? I think there's only been, in the past, I could be wrong, then I think I've read somewhere, there's only been 4 teams in the history of the Premier League with 1 point after 8 games.
I think they can. Whether they will's another matter. I think it might well come down to, I find Burnley a recovering crisis now because of the money situation. So that's still yet to play out. We can only talk about football, but here is a whole. The elephant in the room is the money situation, which may well cost clubs dear, which is going to make January a big factor. So I feel they're battling it out with Burnley. Do I feel there are 2 worse teams than Sheffield United? Yes. Are there 3? I think that might depend on Burnley a little bit, which I know is not a direct answer, but I need to see what happens in January. But I mean, they're there or thereabouts. They are going to flirt with relegation this season. There's no doubt about that.
I think they'll stay up. I think if you were to do predictions now, West Brom would be the first team I write down. I'd consider writing down Fulham as the next one, and then I would consider the likes of Burnley. I probably would even Sheffield United would be maybe my 6th or 7th team, to be honest with you. Despite the fact they've only got 1 point now, there's still Newcastle. I'd still put them in before Sheffield United. I don't know why. I think it's just because I think they've just been a bit unlucky with the results.
You would have Newcastle go down before Sheffield United.
Yeah, but I think it's maybe because whenever I watch Newcastle, I'm just bored to tears. I think that's maybe a bit of a factor. I just don't think. I know we're going off a tangent here. I just think Newcastle, for the players they've got with their ability, is different to what Chris Wilder's working with at Sheffield United. I think one team and managers getting the best out of them. That's Wilder. The other one, the football's atrocious for the players he's got at his disposal. He's playing like he's got Sheffield United player Steve Bruce, if that makes sense. And I mean that in the most respectful way. I think Sheffield United don't get out of it. I think that they've got that nitty gritty thing about them. And Wilder has said in the lead up to this game, he's telling these players not to look at the league table, not to bother with it, kind of thing. And
Good luck with that.
Well, I think it's the right attitude, though, isn't it? I think it's the right thing to do, because you start thinking like a team that's bottom of the league, you start playing like one. But
no, they've been good. They have been in a lot of games. So I would totally agree. They don't, as I say, I think there's two worse teams. I don't think they're rock bottom, but I do think they're teetering. They're just there.
Anyway, last question on Sheffield, as always. The players you admire, please.
None really, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't.
Come on.
I don't think that. I don't think their players are very good. And I'm not saying that. Sorry, I should probably say a caveat there. Geo plays a game which is called Gonzo Bingo, and he does a build-up show on our Patreon, and he does an opposition preview, and I never watch it, and then he has to predict what I say, and I've been trying desperately hard not to sort of try and prove them wrong, but honestly, I don't look. You were saying about the swapping of the strikers. They were swapping the strikers around last season. You know, they got McBurney and McGordrick and lots of Mucks, and look, they're all. I think it was a waste of money. Which one came from Swansea? The one with a big beard.
That's McBurney.
Yeah, waste of money. Burge, I really liked Burge.
Yeah, that's who I thought you'd say. That's what I said.
There you go.
That's my bingo point. That's 1 point.
There you go. I thought he was a good player, good size, 6'5", something like that. We were linked with him. One of the few times we get linked with players, and I'd heard of him and seen him before as well. So I think he's a decent player. I don't think it's quite enough. I don't think it's what they need. As you say, they got in old Ramscock or whatever his name is at goalkeeper. Not very good at all. Brewster, again, I think there's a lot of promise. I think they spent big. I think he's joined the wrong club. I look at a bunch of average players, really, Gio. I'm looking at a team with an outstanding manager, and that's why I feel he has proved to the owners, and they should have backed him. And that's why I say, if they got no money, I don't really understand. But maybe it is that we're about to find out. Maybe he's just no good at buying players. We've seen those managers before, very, very, very good. But no slight on him. I think the club have done tremendously well. But I mean, they're very, very poor, very average players. You mentioned Newcastle earlier. Newcastle got much better players, and I know that was your point, by the way. Newcastle got much, much better players. I doubt Sheffield United I doubt they've got 2-3 players that would get into the Newcastle team, if at all. I don't think they've got too many that would get into our team, quite frankly.
I think Sander Berg has been excellent this season. I think he's stepped up a level. I think he's now settled into Sheffield United. He's settled into the Premier League. When he first arrived, he was in and out of the team a little bit. But when I watched him, he was making these runs into the box from deep that... he's on to something there. If he keeps continuing to make them throughout the season, he will add goals to his tally. He will start doing that. I think he's been fantastic this year.
He did. Sorry to interrupt. He did used to score them. He has got a record of scoring goals, I believe.
Yeah, so he's brilliant. The runs he's been making of late from the right centre midfield position. John Fleck's a decent centre midfielder. He's maybe back. He's back in full time training now, so he might be back for this game. The one player I think is dreadful though is McBurney. As a Scotsman, I can tell you, he's the most infuriating player I've ever seen. I've not seen someone so lanky and tall be so crap at heading it. He wins it because of his height. He wins the headers. He misses 1 free header every game. I know I'm referring to Scotland more than Sheffield United at the minute, but Jesus, watching him play for Scotland over the last 3 games, he's come on off the sub and he started the last one. He's terrible. He's really, really terrible. And like I said, I'm aware this is going to come back and bite me on the arse on Sunday. He's going to bang in a hat-trick and stuff. And listen, I think he's a funny bloke. I like him. I think he's funny on social media and stuff. He was that ex-glamour model or whatever. I think he replied to one of her tweets or something. And do you know that thing on Twitter? She's not going to shag you, mate. I think someone said that to him. I think he replied like, she already has, or something like that. I thought, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So he's got that about him, but he's just not Premier League quality. I wouldn't want to be a Sheffield United fan having to watch him every week. I'd want to throttle him. But I think they've got some good players. I think they're just missing. I think Jack O'Connell, like I said, I thought he was unfortunate not to to get his injury, because I think there was a space in the England set up for a centre-back. We've seen Cody get called up and Mings has now made himself a regular. I think Jack O'Connor wouldn't be too far away from it. I thought they were fantastic at the back last season. Only Liverpool had the better defence. That is partly down to Henderson, but it's also down to that back three. But anyway, enough about Sheffield United. We're going to talk about West Ham. The team news for West Ham: there's no Andrei Yarmolenko. He tested positive for COVID. So he's out the full. Mark Noble is back, and also Ogbonna should be okay. Mikel Antonio is a little bit funny. Antonio told us yesterday on his own Twitch channel that he is fit for the weekend. David Moyes has confirmed he's back in training, but basically said, I'm not telling you if he's starting or not. Moyes said that he doesn't know. There's no answer. He's going to have a little look at him. So that's the West Ham team news. Guess it's a case of what 11 do you want to see, Gonzo? But first of all, Ogbonna looks like he's alright, therefore I assume it's an unchanged back three for you. But how much less confident for this game would you be if we had to put Diop in for Ogbonna?
Well, I'm not confident for this game anyway.
Well, that's the last question, isn't it? So I'm doing it.
Sorry. Well, can we make the Ogbonna one the last question, Anna? He's pivotal. He's our best defender. I think he's one of the best defenders in the league. And particularly old Ollie McBurney there, if he's going to be jumping around missing headers in the air, we need someone to help him on his way, give him a nudge and all the rest of it. And he's a wily old fox. He really, I mean, Ogbonna, not McBurney, obviously. He's just, he knows he's got all the arts, hasn't he? He's got all the sneaky tactics and all the rest of it. He's a wonderful defender. He's a player in brilliant form. We need him. We need him.
Yeah, I agree. I was fearing this actually. If Ogbonna wasn't playing on Sunday, I think I'd maybe put us down for a defeat, to be honest with you. It's not just a player you're missing, it's that organisation. I have to assume, and I think it's safe to assume, that he organises that back three, back five, whatever. And when you remove the guy that's in charge of that, you do worry who's going to take control of there. So had Ogbonna, but thankfully he's all right. It's difficult what order to go with these questions. I'm going to do this one next. Do you have any fitness concerns over this weekend? I don't mean injuries. I mean international break.
I'm fit as a fiddle, mate. I'm pretty good,
That's good. So you'll be around for 1 o'clock for the build-up show on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay,
thanks for asking. Though.
Well, there you go. There's your Hammers chat.
Have you got any fitness concerns, Geo, for this weekend?
No, I'm all right actually. Yeah. So there you go. There's your Hammers chat pre-match press conference. Over.
Thanks for tuning in.
But international break's over with. Declan Rice has obviously played the last 2 full games for England. Thomas Souček played 2.5 games. Sofao played 2 full games and stuff. So there's plenty of players there racking up the minutes for their country. Do you have any fitness concerns? Is there anyone you would rest? Basically, is what I'm saying.
I see. Sure. Fatigue concerns more than anything. I mean Declan. The last time we had a little international, when was the first? It's our second one of the season, isn't it? Crazy, really.
But we had one before the start of the season, so it's our 3rd international break now.
Madness. The last one, I think he possibly played both games. He didn't come. He was sluggish. I think his worst game of the season, I can't remember which it was directly after that. So yeah, that would be a worry because he's played 2 games again, hasn't he? Obviously sat out the Ireland game. Yeah, so Souček not so much because he's got such high natural levels of fitness. I think he's a machine, that bloke, really. My main fitness concern would be Antonio, though obviously we'll cover in a minute. We've got to be cautious with him.
Yeah, I'm a bit iffy with the international break thing because, like you said, the last couple of times Declan's come back from the England duty, he's looked tired, to be honest with you. He's just looked tired, and I hate the fact that they played on Wednesday. I know we're playing on Sunday. I mean, it could be worse. Aston Villa have got a game on Saturday. They're playing tomorrow, and poor Jack Grealish has played all 3 games. So their star man's even worse off than what ours is. So there is those sort of fitness does. Anyway, so far, Souček, Rice, Masuaku all remain in for you as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Your front 3, how would you like it to look?
Well, I'm gonna play Ben Rama because I think number one, you've got to reward him for coming on and changing the game, and I also think it sends out the right message as well, and I also feel that there's a build-up of momentum behind him, and David Moyes mustn't select his team by committee. That much I believe. He shouldn't let the fans influence his selection, but I do believe that there is a build-up of goodwill to what we want to see him. we want to see this kid now. We want to see him play. He introduced him. He had the 88th minute substitute appearance against Liverpool, but he tried to bring him on. He tried to bring him on in the 55th minute or whatever it was against Fulham, and he sort of conspired to take 11 more minutes to get him on. But you know what I mean. He brought him on relatively early for David Moyes. Let's put it that way. So I want to see better again. Well, better again isn't him coming on at half time. Better again is him starting, and that's what I'd like to see. I'd still persevere with Bowen on the right because I think we forget a little bit too easy sometimes. He's a fantastic player, highly likely to score in any game we play. That doesn't mean I think he's going to score every game, but he is highly likely to score. Do not be surprised if Bowen scores on Sunday. I'm going to go start with Sebastian Haller because because of the fitness worries, and if there's one thing that Antonio seems to do even better than playing as a striker at the moment, it is a substitute. He is a wonderful substitute, an absolutely brilliant high impact player, and I'd rather do it than the other way round. So if Antonio's not 90 minutes, and I'm guessing he's not, then let's do that. If we can keep it to 0-0 or something like that, I know it's very low ambition to do that. We're at 0-0, and then we bring the main man on at 0-0 after whatever 60 minutes or something like that, and I think we can. Sorry,
8-8.
Yeah, absolutely. They can score the injury time winner. Yeah, that's what I'd do, man.
So I'm going to pick a bone with you here. You've just said that you've got to keep Bowen in because he scores goals. Fornals has got the same amount of goals as him this season.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's just if you're going to go with what I said, I can't have Fornals and Haller up there. I just really can't. They're just too slow, the pair of them together, and. You know, I think if what you say about Declan Rice, you mentioned Mark Noble earlier, if what you say about Declan Rice, and if David Moyes feels the same, and I don't think he will, I think he'll play Declan Rice. You know, and I know you like him, you'd like to see him in this position. I would play Fornals there in the central midfield before I brought Mark Noble back in. I can't see that's what I would like to see.
I would like, as much as I want to see Fornals in centre midfield, I think this would be the wrong game for it. Sheffield United would bully him. He would just get kicked to ribbons out there. He doesn't mind the physical aspect. Fornals, he doesn't shy away from challenges and stuff. But I just think if there's a team in the Premier League, you want a little bit of muscle and a little bit of height in there, I think it is Sheffield United. Because we know they play 3 centre midfielders, so already your 2 centre midfielders are outnumbered for parts of the game. And then this is where Fornals does the clever part. Fornals, when we're out of possession, he's the one that comes in to make it a 3 midfield. And then whoever you replace him with, whether it's Benrahma or Lanzini, you've got to be confident that they're... Listen, I've got no doubt about Benrahma on the ball. But the question is, can you do it off the ball? Can you do it out of possession? Can you do what Pablo Fornals is, which is get your arse in there and help Rice and Solskjaer? But you've also got to keep an eye out for what's going on with Masuaku and stuff. And I don't have enough evidence to suggest Benrahma will do that. Saying that, I would start him, Benrahma. But I would also start Pablo Fornals. And it's Sebastian Haller I would drop. And I would put Bowen up front. I'm not saying I'm fed up with Sebastian Haller. I'm just looking at this, I'm just thinking, did Haller do enough against Fulham to warrant continuing to start up front? I don't think so. I don't think it did. We can all say the service wasn't good enough, and I agree with that as well. But the point is, there was a whole debate after the Fulham game, right? Should VAR called offside against our goal? Because Sebastian Haller was offside when the ball came in.
Yeah.
Why is he offside? He could have. Our winner could have got ruled out because Sebastian Haller was stood offside from our centre back crossing the ball. It wasn't like the ball come in, went out and come straight back in. Therefore, his first run was caught him offside. He was just. There was no reason for him to be offside. I would play Fornals because I think his defensive side of it is massive. The way Sheff Utd play with this running centre backs, we've got to be careful for that. Our 2 number 10s or whatever have to be marking those players. Otherwise, they're going to get our wing backs are going to get doubled up on. We saw against Spurs. Sofal was struggling out there with Regulion running down there because no one knew what was going on. Son would come over, Regulion would come down. You could see Bowen and Sofal looking at each other going, who's marking who here? Crikey, that was with just 2. Sometimes Sheffield United have 3 players running down one wing. And I just think we need to have Fornals and whoever making sure. And I just think Fornals is so important out of possession. I would keep him in. I would put Benrahma in. I'd put Bowen up front. Bowen's done it for Hull City up front on a few occasions and stuff. We know he can score goals. I agree with you. I think he can. I think he works well with Pablo Fornals. And so therefore I would almost like to move Bowen over so he's closer to Pablo Fernandes and say, well, let's see this partnership flourish a little bit and keep Antonio hopefully fit enough to come on the bench. Are you confident for this one?
No, not at all. Not at all. But yeah.
What's making you worried?
Not confident. The Declan Rice thing, actually, and I've already recorded tomorrow's video, so I'll discuss that there, so you'll know I'm not just saying it for the sake of this. I'm worried that the break, I don't think it's what I talk about tomorrow, I don't think we're particularly good after we have a break as a club, and I think this is the test. I don't think Fulham was the test particularly. I think this is the test. I think they've got a real bee in their bonnet. I think their results are deceptive. I think there's an awful lot from it. 2-1 against a 2-1 loss against Arsenal, for instance. 1-0 against Leeds, who were rampant at the time. They lost 2-1 to Liverpool, 1-0 to Man City. It's tight. They're not that you could argue the case. Apart from that, they got thumped by Chelsea, but you could argue the case. A little decision here or there. Their results are not that, and the scorelines are not that different from ours. I think possibly I'll be a little bit more motivated from this. It's up to Moyes. Depends on Moyes and the boys, as they say. It depends how they've motivated the team for this one, because they're going to be highly motivated. Chris Wilder, it is desperate. It's a must-win game for them, really, and a draw is a good result for us here, believe it or not, and because of the context of the points we've accrued already. And I don't feel it's a particularly good point for Sheffield United. So all of those things, and West Hamitis, of course, make me nervous.
I get your point. I can go along with that. I can see why you're nervous. I think the Chelsea loss, I'm prepared to chalk that down. Sheffield United's 4-1 thumping, that is. I'm prepared to knock that down to sort of like lack of confidence finally just catching up with them a little bit. The results previous has just brought them down a peg or two, and they've almost given up. I think they're into a really good time for Sheffield United so they can get back and start again eventually. Their season starts against West Ham on Sunday, if you like. It is a must-win game for them, but I think it's a must-win game for West Ham to an extent. If we have aspirations of European football, and listen, Fernand's mentioned the E word, not just me. It's not just, it's a player at the club before someone said, "Oh, European football." Except many times, I don't think we will get there. But if that is our aim, and it should be our aim, then we have got to win against Sheffield United. That is genuinely what we want to do. We want to be moving up a level, winning against not necessarily Sheffield United, but going to the team that's bottom of the league with 1 point after 8 games is a must-win. You have to pick up 3 points for that, and then you go again for the next game, which is against Villa, which we know will be difficult. A draw is a good result. I think it's an okay result. I don't think it's not bad, but I won't be doing cartwheels about it. But you're right, we have picked up good points and good results so far this season. But they're bonus points. They are what should be the difference between 12th and 8th in the Premier League. That should be, at the end of the season, if you take off your points we've got against the likes of Leicester, Wolves and Tottenham, you look back and think, crikey, without them we would have finished 12th. But because of that good start, we've gone on and finished 8th in the season. And I just think it would be 1 step forward, 1 step back. Not 2 steps, just 1 step back. If we do not win on Sunday, I just think we'll be a last-minute winner at home to Fulham and a draw away to Sheffield United, bearing in mind their circumstances, which was they were both in the bottom 3. It's not convincing enough for me. I want to see more. I want to see 3 points on Sunday in a good performance. But, like I said, a point wouldn't be a bad result. I want to see a bit of ambition from West Ham. Sunday is a good way for us to throw down a mark and say, actually, we want to finish in the top 8. And with all that said and done, may I get your score prediction?
Yeah, I will go. I'm going to go 1-1 for this one, Geo. I think it'll be a 1-1, and not a very nice game to watch either. So, yeah. There you go. Look, we've got our breakfast show in the morning, so we'll see. We'll see if my tune changes before then, but. Yeah, go with a draw at the moment.
I come on to this thinking I'm going to do a 1. When I write down my notes, I just write down bullet points for questions. And at the bottom, I always write down my score prediction, so I don't get swayed. So I don't talk myself out of it, and I don't let you talk myself out of it. So I've written down 1-0 West Ham, and I'm sticking with that. But you almost talked me into a 1-1 with that bit there. You almost made me think, actually, he's right, he's got a point about this. Not West Hamitis, but the international break, Sheffield United. I think I convinced myself that Sheffield United are a good team in that. But, you know something, they just don't have a goal scorer. They don't have someone up front that can put the ball in. They need an Antonio. They need something. To be honest with you, in January, they should come and get Sebastian Aller on loan if they need to. The way they play would suit Sebastian Aller down to the ground, and we'd get him into a Premier League club, and he should therefore start pretty much every game. But I'm going to stick with my notes. I'm going to go West Ham with a 1-0 win. Build up show. Right, so busy day on Sunday for us. West Ham plays Sheff Utd, obviously. So the patrons, you've got your morning video. That'll be up at like 9-10 a.m. And we'll have that up live for the patrons. Then the build up shows are just before 1 p.m. We go live, 2 p.m. kickoff. So we'll have the team lineups from West Ham, team lineups from Sheffield United. A little discussion. We'll do a bet giveaway. We'll stick a fiver on and we pick a couple of goal scorers or players to get booked in that. And we give the winnings away to someone, should the bet win. Then the watch along with Tom and Charlie goes live just after myself and Gonzo are finished up around about 1:20. And that's all the way through to the final whistle. And then at final whistle, you've got myself and Gonzo with our live review, hopefully celebrating 3 points. Then the patrons, after that, you get the player ratings. A couple of hours after that, we give you our player ratings as well. Want to become a patron? Links in description, patreon.com/HammersChat. Lots of content, lots and lots of content. But this is the first video of many ahead of the game. So drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new here. And Gonzo, I'll see you Sunday morning for breakfast.
You certainly will.